Hi, I'm Greg Mazaris. I'm Director of Austin Water. I'm here to update the community on our work to resolve odor issues associated with zebra mussels that we've been experiencing in parts of our system. Just would like to start off by saying we apologize that some of our customers have been experiencing poor water quality in terms of taste and odor. Water quality has been a strength of Austin Water. We take these matters very, very seriously. We're doing all that we can to resolve these issues and engage with our customers to get them back to the high quality water that they're used to experiencing. And would be happy to provide you additional updates and answer questions that you may have today.
How many calls have come into 311 since you all opened the line or asked people to use 311 yesterday?
I don't know the exact number, but over the weekend it's been well over 1,000 as we've been asking people to call 311. They amended an application, an iPhone kind of app that makes it easier for them to provide engagement with us. We use that data to target our flushing teams to go out and flush portions of our system. Our plants are no longer, our one plant, Ulrich, is not producing water that smells anymore, but the water that was produced on that first day takes several days to work through the system. So we have to kind of target some flushing. We're calling customers back, asking them if they're seeing improved water quality. If not, we can retask crews to go out and flush our system. There's certain pockets of our system, if you live in an area where maybe on a cul-de-sac or it doesn't get a lot of circulation, we have to go back to try to get that water circulating and get the better, fresher water coming back through.
How long do you expect that process to take of flushing and getting feedback and all of that?
It may be as long as it takes to get every customer back to having high quality water. We are seeing this dissipate. We're not seeing, water coming out of the plants that smells anymore, but we might have pockets of this persisting as it takes time for the water to work our way through a system. So I would think probably for the next few days we'll be working this. I think each day it's going to get smaller and smaller, but until every customer is back on their feet with water quality, we're going to stay on this.
Right, what is taking so long? You initially said it would take 24 hours and customers are not happy.
We agree, this is not a good circumstance. We don't want customers experiencing fishy smelling water. It just takes a while for this water to work through our system. It's hard for us to predict exactly where the water may hang up and not circulate, so that's where we rely on customer calls. Again, we're not producing water anymore that smells. This weekend, our taste and odor index was down to 0, which is the lowest that you can have. We're continuing to feed powder activated carbon, which helps us. It's just taking a while for this to work through our system. This is all associated with our Ulrich treatment plant, so it's mostly impacting customers south of the river. There's some other areas that are impacted, but it's predominantly a south of the river phenomena. We have taken steps to isolate some of our tanks to see that this water doesn't circulate back into the north of our system, but we're just going to have to work this as hard as we can.
Can customers expect to see any kind of change in their bills related to the smelly water?
Well, right now we're focusing on kind of the operational side of this, stabilizing the system, flushing it. I think as we work through that and stabilize that and the customer complaints go down to manageable levels, we'll be taking up any additional steps we want to take to keep customers whole in this regard.
How come the downtown water improved, in regards to smell? How come those areas improved before, South Austin?
Well, you just think about it. The water comes out of Ulrich and goes immediately through large transmission mains. So the downtown experienced the water quality first, and then that water is the first to leave. So it's kind of first in, first out. So as this water works its way through the system, it takes longer and longer. The south would be the area that would be the last to kind of go through. It's kind of like a slug or bubble of water that's just making its way through. It kind of depends on your location on the system. If you're connected to one of our large transmission mains, you experience that first, and then you probably experience it getting better first. And it's just really just the circulation, the hydraulics of our system that leads to how and when you come out of this.
So when Austin Water initially said it would improve by 24 hours, I think a lot of people all over Austin expected that their water would improve by 24 hours too. So can you kind of walk us through exactly when the output of water at Ulrich improved for sure, and also when you said 24 hours, was that being a little too ambitious?
Well, we probably should have been more specific that the plant water was stabilizing and that customers would start to see improvements, but over time as this smelly water works its way through the system, I think as I explained, that's really been what's been happening here. What was your other question?
So exactly when did the output of the water become tasteless and, you know,
I think by Friday we were seeing what we call a threshold odor number be right around 0, which is the lowest it will go. Taste and odor is an aesthetic quality. You really don't like do test for it like you know with a chemistry or something. It's more of a panel of people smelling water and tasting water and judging it. And our taste and odor panel saw those numbers go near 0, which typically is where we are. Roughly by Friday to early Saturday morning. But again, the water that was already in the system is needing to work its way out. And again, some of it's probably hanging up in some low circulation areas that we have to flush.
Let's think a little bit further than Friday. I know we were talking to some of the zebra mussel folks, and they were saying that really this spring is when you're going to see really the zebra mussels, the biggest problem, once the weather starts to get a little bit warmer. Are y'all starting to look at how you can maybe deal with that and what's coming up in the future to prevent this again?
Yes. So zebra mussels are infesting our raw water system very rapidly, and we have plans and resources in place to manage that. Part of that is mechanical cleaning. It's just scraping zebra mussels off of our water intakes. However, now they're starting to go up into our raw water piping, and that's a more difficult area for us to work and clean. So we're going to be implementing additional controls through chemical means, as well as inventing new ways to clean our system. So yes, we have protections in place for that. This particular event, I think, is more related to us having a raw water system out of service, putting it back into service, and having some of those mussels had died and imparted this fishy smell to the water. So we clearly learned a lot from that. Now that zebra mussels are here, we can't take raw water systems in and out of service without these odor risks, and we're going to be incorporating those challenges into our future planning for how we handle those.
So you're saying that when it was shut down for that 2-week period, without the access to water, they just died off, and that's what really caused this?
Yes.
Go ahead. Yeah, can we expect this to happen again in the future sometime?
We're going to be taking all steps that we can think of to reduce the risk of this in the future. Clearly, zebra mussels are an invasive species. They weren't here 3 years ago, and they're here by the millions now, and we have to learn and update from this. But other utilities have effectively combated zebra mussels, and we're going to figure this out too.
Great. Could you talk to us about why you decided not to send out individual emails or even phone calls to every single customer? We are hearing from a lot of people who are saying, well, the communication just wasn't there. You guys were tweeting, certainly, but not everyone's on Twitter. So why didn't you reach out to an individual customer to maybe apologize or even explain exactly what's going on?
Well, we are doing that. We're calling customers back and asking them if they're continuing to experience this. We're asking them to call 311, and when 311 gets a call, even if it's a repeat call, if we have the address, the telephone number, we can redispatch crews, we can call customers back. We've called hundreds of customers back and plan to continue to do that. We have been using social media, our Facebook posting, our Twitter feed, our online website to communicate that. Clearly, you can always do better communications, and we want to continue to get better, but we have been trying to do all that we can with our customers.
The perception is this is the second water crisis that y'all have been on top of after the Osmond water order. So a lot of customers, a lot of our viewers aren't very happy with the way y'all handled this crisis. What do you have to say to that?
Having 2 significant water quality events in such short-term duration is highly, highly unusual for us. First time we've experienced those kind of things. We're going to do better. We need to do better. We can't control the weather when it rains and it floods and unprecedented events, but zebra mussels was a known risk for us, and they're going to be here for our entire future, and we just have to get better at managing those kind of risks with zebra mussels, and we will do that.
How much are those risks costing the city? And how much has this particular incident cost?
Well, ultimately, our utility will invest millions to control zebra mussels. Mechanical cleaning, marine diving contracts, televising our raw water system, additional chemicals to retard the growth of zebra mussels, capital improvement projects to make it easier for us to manage zebra mussels. We'll ultimately invest millions of dollars to do this.
What do you think is the most important lesson learned for you guys? What it can be communication, it can be just how to handle the situation. I mean, what lessons are you taking away from this?
Well, I think our lesson is that zebra mussels are well into our raw water system. They're not just isolated on our intakes in the lake. They've worked their way up the raw water pipelines that bring that water to our plants. And we have to manage zebra mussels all the way from the intakes all the way through our raw water piping. We had been focusing on managing it on the intakes, and clearly this episode indicates that they've significantly infested the raw water piping. And that's a whole new animal for us, and that's really the lesson learned, is that we've got to incorporate that into our thinking.
So when the water, so more like a logistics question, I guess. So when the water gets processed at Ulrich, how long does it take for that water to reach, say, customers in like Circle C or, far south Austin that are experiencing, snow? So how many miles of pipe is that, or how many days does it take?
Well, we have over 4,000 miles of pipe, so it's a very large system. Circle C would be at the southern end of our system, so that would be the last kind of area to experience this water. It depends too on the time of season, how fast people are using water. If there's irrigating, water will move through our system in the summer faster than it does in, say, a cold weather month like here in February. So it takes longer now for water to move through, and the extremes of our system would be the last to encounter that water.
So would that be like a couple days, or?
Well, I think they're experiencing it now. We're seeing complaints and concerns come from areas like Circle C and far southeast, which means that water is reaching the kind of extent of our system. And so hopefully as we're flushing that out, that we'll ultimately be seeing this abate for all of our customers.
So kind of exactly what you've explained here just now. So some customers are wondering, why didn't you put that in an email format and contact me directly to explain all that process? Because they were frustrated that they didn't understand fully, what was going on. What's your response to those customers who are saying that you didn't communicate to us?
Well, we did try to communicate. We did post that we're experiencing a significant zebra mussel odor issue, to call us if you have problems, to let the media know. I mean, we were broadcasting that as early as Thursday morning. So it's hard for us to pinpoint exactly which customer to communicate with. And quite honestly, we produce water from 3 plants, and we're not always sure how that water mixed. We run an integrated system, and so it's hard for us to say. We can't say exactly like, well, Ulrich water is exactly over here at exactly this time. You don't know the dilution, how much of it's mixed with other water coming from other plants. So it was really a tough challenge for us to predict this down to the individual customer level. The best way to manage this is to not have it happen. And so that's our focus, is to see that we not have this happen again.
Was your water personally affected by this?
No, I live up in Avey Ranch, the northern part of our system, and the bulk of the water there comes from Plant 4. And so I did not experience it at my own home. However, I did experience it here in our building. I could certainly on Thursday and into Friday, I experienced it. I did not detect anything today. I came in very early and made the coffee, first one, and did not smell the water here. So like I just ran here, I think it's kind of cleared out of the areas closer to Ulrich and is working its way to the extremes of our system.
Did you drink it by chance when it did smell last week?
I drank the coffee on Friday that I made. I did indeed.
And how did that taste?
The coffee tasted okay. When I poured it into the coffee pot, I could detect somewhat of a fishy smell. So even if the water is safe to drink, if it smells bad or tastes bad, that's not very fun, right? And so we want the whole package, water that's safe to drink and high quality from taste and odor perspective.
In the future, will Austin Water or any other city officials kind of review how everything was handled during this period? Are you anticipating that kind of review or inspection, I guess, to take place?
Yes, anytime we have an operational event like this, we will do after action discussions and reviews. That's already started in many ways. We have our operations center operating now to help us with tasking, flushing, and engaging with customers. And so yes, zebra mussels is, again, a new animal for us, literally, and we need to learn from these experiences.
When was those millions of dollars in prevention start? We were discussing earlier.
I'm sorry, can you say again?
Yeah, when would those millions of dollars in prevention start?
It started already. We have marine contracts that we've issued where divers go down and mechanically clean our intakes, scrape off zebra mussels. That has been ongoing already. We've issued procurement documents for adding additional chemicals to our system to control zebra mussels. We have, about a year ago, we hired an engineering firm to assist us in developing a capital improvement project to control zebra mussels, and would ultimately be designing and constructing that project in the years ahead. So it's a whole body of work that's been happening. We've also been sampling and looking at our systems to see where zebra mussels are accumulating. Those are some of the activities that we've been taking underway.
The consultants you've hired, so what do they do exactly? So are they?
They're giving us engineering advice on systems to implement to really retard the growth of zebra mussels. You know, there's several ways to manage zebra mussels in your raw water piping system. Various chemicals that you can use. Permanganate is an example of a retardant that we're planning on using. In addition, zebra mussels, it's kind of technical, but zebra mussels don't like copper ions. We're looking at a copper ion system, which is very low cost, but we have to build it as a way to introduce irritants to them to keep them out of our raw water system. Permanganate is an irritant and a retardant, but it's pretty expensive. And so that's something we can get off the ground very rapidly, but ultimately would be doing a capital improvement project to go to more lower cost solutions that are as effective, if not more so.
So Friday's the day.
I'm sorry?
Friday's the day. It should be all over.
Well, I don't want to make a prediction. Obviously, we haven't been very good at predicting all this. My prediction is it's going to get better every single day. Our plants are no longer producing any water that has a zebra mussel smell to it. That has ceased. This water is working its way through its system. We're full court press, flushing systems, engaging with customers. There could still be pockets of customers we just don't know. I would think by the end of the week we'll be totally through this. That universe is getting skinnier and skinnier every single day as we're working this through, but even if one customer is suffering, we're going to stay on this.
So the water that's smelly that remains in the system that's going out, is there a chance that that water will somehow make its way up to like people who weren't affected at all, like North Austin people? Like, is there a chance that those areas will now get affected?
We don't think so. We've taken some steps to isolate some of our tanks and pumping stations to not move that water to the north, so that we don't believe that will be the case.
Gotcha. So the hope is once it goes out of the system, it'll just go out.
Yes.
And then not come back.
Yes,
Okay.
and we're putting good water in, get this bad water out, the system will return to its normal taste and odor environment.
Are there any environmental concerns because of the flushing of the water or anything like that? Are you guys considering that?
Yes, well, there's not concerns. We manage that. We dechlor the water when we flush it. So this water, ultimately makes its way into the drainage system, and we want to make sure that we don't harm any fish. So we do dechlor water when we flush it. Dechlorinate is the thing. So we're managing that. Obviously, flushing water is water that isn't being used for productive purposes. We don't like to do that, but in cases like this, it's very important that we use flushing to clear the system. And this isn't the only time we do flushing. Obviously, very intense now, but we do flushing for other reasons along the way, just to keep the water system running appropriately.
And just one question, just to double check with you. I know you say it's safe. Have you had any reports through 311 or otherwise of anyone feeling nauseous or getting sick from this?
Not that I know of.
And flushing will continue until when?
Till we don't have any more complaints.
What kind of testing are you doing to making sure the water is safe?
Well, we do all of our regulatory testing that we do. Our disinfection systems are running strong. We sample our system every single day. We do all of our other profiles that we do. We're meeting all regulatory standards. But obviously, if the water smells bad or tastes bad, people aren't very pleased with that. And so we understand even though we meet regulatory standards, we don't meet the standards that we have for this water.